Quite the opposite as we take you down to the Gulf. We have in the Western Gulf, newly formed tropical storm Milton. It formed yesterday afternoon, set to strengthen to a Category 3 major hurricane by Wednesday. And before landfall on Wednesday night, we are watching for major impacts for much of the west coast of Florida. But at this point, most of the west coast is in the cone of uncertainty, so that track really needs to be narrowed down. We are looking here locally as some clouds off of the coastline. Otherwise, really beautiful clear skies prevail here. And those clear skies allowed our temperatures to fall rapidly overnight. We saw many spots down in the 30s. We're now recovering here into the 50s, even a few warm spots crossing into the 60s over southeastern Massachusetts. And we'll stay in the 60s today. Sea breeze keeping Boston and the coastline in the mid-60s this afternoon, upper 60s for inland spots. So that's less of those 70s that we saw yesterday and the day prior. Clouds are gathering tonight. We have some showers in the forecast for tomorrow. I'll have the timeline for that ahead. Rondella. Making our way out of the 30s and 40s that we had early this morning, and we're quickly warming into the 50s to even the low 60s in spots. Take a look at New Bedford, up to 62 already. So the sun is getting to work here, and sun is what will greet you for most of our area. You can see that's the case in Worcester and Boston. If you look at the distance for Boston, you see a few clouds painting the sky. Nothing that's going to create an overcast sky or create any sort of rain outlook here. But we are looking at some of these very fair weather cumulus clouds that are starting to stream in off the water. So don't be surprised if you see that out toward Provincetown, the tip of Cape Ann, and you can barely see it off the coast of Boston as well. What we're tracking here in terms of some darker clouds and eventually, of course, some rainfall is this cold front that's cutting through the Great Lakes right now with some lightning and thunderstorms rolling through in Canada. This is the same front that will trigger our next shower chance. We have some time, but it is moving in for the pre-dawn hours tomorrow into the morning commute and will likely linger in some spots through the afternoon and evening. We are looking dry for now, though. Blue skies prevail as we make our way through the 60s. A sea breeze will likely keep the immediate coastline closer to the mid-60s today. Could even see a few low 60s for the mid to outer Cape. Inland is where we're getting a little closer to the upper 60s, even your 70 through the Connecticut River Valley. As we travel through tonight, clouds continue to thicken, and we eventually turn cloudy into the tomorrow with some showers in our forecast. Those clouds keep our temperatures overnight closer to 50, so we're not quite as cool overnight, but of course there's a price to pay. So here's those clouds and eventually the showers moving in pre-dawn, and they continue through the morning commute. The concern here is that there may be a few embedded downpours, so while we're not talking about a widespread wall of rainfall, where these showers do develop, they could pack a punch in spots in terms of thunderstorms that are weak, non-severe, but enough to maybe startle your morning drive. We move toward noon, and you can see how the focus of the rain starts to shift from 495 eastward. So it's really eastern Massachusetts that holds on to the rain chance longest. Hit or miss shower or two possible for the evening commute. I don't think it's going to be all too wet, though, as the trend for most of the area is for us to dry out through the evening and more so into the after sunset hours. So a good solid 1/4 of an inch to an inch of rainfall. Not enough to produce flooding, but enough to help us as we could use some rain in our area. We do have drought conditions. We're also watching the tropics here. We have Hurricane Kirk. That's set to weaken as it moves toward Europe later in the week. We have Leslie, that's also set to weaken and not impact land, so great news there. Of greater concern is Tropical Storm Milton. This one's moving out of the Western Gulf and then it's going to strengthen quickly. We're talking about major hurricane before landfall on Wednesday night. The cone of uncertainty stretches from Tallahassee to Marco Island, anywhere really on the west coast, but even trying to move inland toward areas like